part 2 then. So, do you guys, if this is your first time on the class, I need to email you these 2 books that I work from. So if you could just put your email in the chat box for me, then I can go ahead and email these to you real quick before we get started here. Carrie Stevens, did you have a email you want me to send this to? Awesome. Awesome. All right, so you're going to be getting the workbook and the full book. The full book is quite extensive and breaks things down in more detail. But there is a section of the book that I will be going over. You don't have to have this like up and open while we're going through the class, but it will be nice for you to have it for a reference later. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Samantha, I think you already have a copy of these books because I think you've attended this class before. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. If there's anybody that I missed, or if you guys have any questions while we're going through this, please feel free to interject. This is supposed to be an open dialogue platform. The class is intended to help you increase your productivity and to make the most out of your budget and to help you build a career that's going to be financially successful, in your pockets as well as on paper. So this portion of the course, we kind of go through the budget and we break it down, but we also talk about the 411 worksheet, which is in the booklet as well, so that you guys can put these action goal worksheets into play. The ideal is to fill them out once a month or weekly or however you need to fill them out so that you can hold yourself accountable. And we're going to break this down further. But before we get into it, can anybody volunteer to kind of give me some background on what you guys are doing on a regular basis as far as productivity goes? Like, how many hours a day do you spend on prospecting? What are your methods of prospecting, and about how successful it is? Like, how many clients are you actually talking to on a regular basis? Okay. Nobody wants to volunteer, that's fine. If you do any type of coaching with Bill, Bill tried to, okay. It's okay. It's okay because like not everybody is where they want to be as far as productivity goes. That's why we have this class. But if you ever coach with Bill, Bill encourages you to make calls at least 2 to 3 times a day and 2 to 3 hours a day. And he wants you to do that consistently and straight for 5 to 6 days out of the week. So you're not alone, so don't feel any kind of way about that. It's totally fine. All right, let me go ahead and move this out of the way. So whether or not your schedule can actually hold 2 to 3 hours a day worth of prospecting, that's up to you to determine. And how you prospect is really what's going to be more important, because you don't want to utilize whatever time that you block out for prospecting with busy work. So you want to be prepared to just make those calls or make those contacts, whatever it is that you're trying to do to get the most out of your day. So let's just dive in right here. We're going to talk about the budget benchmarks. Now, this is just one that KW has brought in a bunch of information from a bunch of different agents and kind of broken down the calculations for you so that you can kind of gauge where you're at. So if you made $150,000 in gross commission income and your cost to sell and your gross profit and your expenses came out, then your net income should be about 49% of that, which is $73,500. Now, if for some reason you're gaining more than that, great. If you're gaining less than that, then you may want to reevaluate. Well, you may want to reevaluate something no matter what, because you want to constantly be increasing, right? Because you got big goals. If you're content with what you're doing, then you want to minimize your costs as much as possible. But if you're trying to grow, then you don't want to cut short some of the investment money that you're putting into it. So this is just a rough chart. And again, this is going to be in that workbook so that you guys can look over it later and you can just kind of gauge where you want to be bottom line to know where your goal is as well. So it's just a way of kind of working backwards. And that's if you fit within this model. Now, of course, cost to sell is usually about 30% according to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Guide. So if you have a little bit of flexibility, same thing with your expenses, 30%. So if you have a little bit of flexibility there, then there may be some wiggle room, because like the cost of sale is obviously lower down here, but your expenses are higher. So they kind of balance each other out, but you want to play around with your numbers and really see where you can afford to take risks and what you can do to make the most out of your money that you're putting out there. So when you're breaking down your budget in the sense of the operating expenses, they have this chart here and it goes down into here, right? So this chart here is just, again, you're looking at your gross commission income. So this isn't the net profit, this is the gross. So the 150, this was supposed to yield that 73.5, and then it just breaks things down further. Now, this is going to be something when you're thinking about it in the sense of like hiring and building a team. Like when you're looking at salary and benefits, like who are you paying, right? So if you have a transaction coordinator, then technically you could have a team if you wanted to pursue that, or it could just be you for now and then you have a transaction coordinator, but that would be a salary that you're paying out. Now, this is obviously a part-time transaction coordinator, because I don't know anybody that would only be making $8,000 a year and okay with that. So that would be a part-time transaction coordinator, not a full-time person. And obviously, as you get towards these bigger numbers, then you're going to start seeing full-time people, maybe even multiple people, because I don't know who you're going to be paying $500,000 a year to run your business, your admin for you, and it'd be one person and they'd be efficient. So professional services, this can include like your tax guy, somebody that's helping keep track of your stuff, your accountant. This could also be QuickBooks. It could be basically anything that's going to help you run your business. I believe RAIN also falls in that category. Might be wrong about that. So like your MLS dues, your Hurrah dues, that just depends. So when you're down here on your list, on your lead generation, this is going to be where you're spending your marketing money. So if you are investing in Zillow or something along those lines, like this is where that category would go. If you are running Facebook lead campaigns, if you are spending money to print out stuff, like the wear and tear, like even if you're printing stuff at home, like the wear and tear on your printer, like the ink, the paper, all of that falls into marketing, because that's what it took to get that going. And that's a little different than like just your normal printing out paper for showings and stuff like that, because that's not technically marketing. So listing management. So if you were to bring somebody on that was just like a closer for your listings, then you could put them in the salary and benefits bracket, or you could put them, listing management's going to be somebody that like closes the appointment and like checks on the listing throughout the time that you guys have it listed. So, you know, it could be one person and they could start out part-time or whatever, or, you know, you could get into the point where you are hiring somebody full-time. So that will depend on you. Listing management could also be somebody that the expense that you have when it comes to putting signs in the yards as well, like somebody that removes and installs and removes the signs. So depends on you. Photography for your listings, that's going to fall underneath marketing and prospecting if you're somebody that pays for that for your listings. So all of these numbers can plug in there. Occupancy, I don't know why they have that category in here. I'm assuming it's for if you were to like rent a space, like if you pay that $35 a month or $45 a month or whatever it is for that Gather membership, that could fall under occupancy. Education and coaching, we get Bill Crespo for free, but if you were to pay for additional education and coaching, that would fall underneath there. Remember, your CE courses are actually free through Mosley, so you don't ever need to pay for those. Like even if you didn't attend Mosley for your actual license, you can still sign up for Mosley for your free CE courses. So you never have to pay for those, but anything additional like productivity coaching, like Bill Crespo does. Supply and office expenses, again, this is like the paper and the ink that you use for when you're printing out stuff for showings, not to be mixed up with the stuff that you use for marketing, because that is going to be up here in your marketing materials. Communication and technology, so that the cost of your cell phone, this could be some of the platforms you use. Rain may even fall in this platform if you wanted it to. That's up to you on how you want to categorize these things, but you need to understand what makes up those categories so that you can better budget. Communication and technology, because Keller Williams gives us so much, it actually minimizes how much you actually have to spend. There's some agents that are outside of KW that spend a lot more money, like for a CRM and a website and an app, and they're having to do all of these things on their own, whereas Keller Williams gives those to us. I don't want to say for free, because we definitely pay them money, but that $25,000 a year cap helps cover all of that. Automobiles, so this could be like, you know, the general wear and tear on it. This could also be the maintenance, like getting the oil changes, your tires, anything that you can think of. If you have to rent a car, which I don't know why you would, but maybe you do. Equipment and furnishings, your laptop, your printer, if you buy furniture, insurance. So E&O, I think is going to actually be under the cost of sale, but that might be under insurance as well. But if you pay for health insurance, then you would want to have that there. Your E&O insurance is $200 a year. It's up to you where you want to put that, but I feel like this is going to be more for like health insurance. And car insurance could be underneath here as well, or you can keep it with your automobile. That's up to you. Some of y'all may change your rates on what kind of plan you have, because you know you're in your car a lot more often. So up to you on how you want to budget that. Does anybody have any questions about how this is broken down? So just so you guys see this, 750, 30% of the GCI, right? So if you're thinking about that, this is the operating expenses. So this is this category right here. And obviously this would, if you're looking at the smaller one, this would be more down towards down here, the 38%. So it's a little high the lower you are, but as you, it all balances itself out when you're trying to reach your goals. All right, so this MREA chart is for like building a budget. Do any of you guys have QuickBooks or anything similar to that? I'm assuming you do. If you have QuickBooks, they actually have an accounting feature on their QuickBooks that allows you to be able to put things in there. I think I pay like $40 a month for my QuickBooks, and you may not need it now. Like if you're good on keeping track of your own stuff, because you can actually put this in an Excel spreadsheet as well. You don't have to have QuickBooks. But if you're already paying for QuickBooks, then by all means use theirs, and you can relabel how it's broken down and listed out. So you can actually make it, because QuickBooks default one does not match this, obviously. It's not designed for a real estate agent. It's just designed for a generic entrepreneur. So you want to kind of make sure that it makes sense on whatever you're doing. So when you're filling it out, like this is you as a whole. So you want to know all the money that you're bringing in, where it's coming from. You want to know how much you're paying out. Expenses, again, this is the more broken down expenses right here. So you can break it down and make it make sense however you want to label it so that you understand it. Below the line income and below the line expenses, I'm not all that clear on that. Like I understand what profit share is, but I definitely I don't know why it says below the line. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I'll have to go and look at the video again to understand that a little bit better. But if you needed to like keep track of stuff, you can put it here in the below the line, or you could just include it up here up top. Like there's no real rules against that. But if for whatever reason you needed to have that separate, then you can absolutely make that separate. And so once you get all of that calculated out, then you'll have like your net income, and that should give you hopefully your goal. So if your goal is for 100,000 a year, hopefully you'll see 100,000 down here. So hiring path of the MREA is not something that I'm going to really dive into. This is more about building a team. You guys can actually look at this later. You can take time out to read it. I definitely recommend reading the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. That breaks it down very thoroughly well, and it's a very easy read. Like some of these self-help books, as I like to call them, are a little draining to read. Like you got to force yourself to read it. But that particular book is actually very, very easy to read. So we won't go too far into that. We'll just skim right through that. And now let's talk about this action goal worksheet. So once you have established your goals, and if you have missed the first part of the clinic, we didn't really go through this last week because I had a smaller class than what I anticipated. So we went a little off script that particular day. But the very first time that I held this class that goes over the first part of it is actually recorded, and it's on our YouTube channel, or it's in the KW mentor group or wherever Thomasina has stored all those videos. But you can go back and watch that video at a later date too. So you don't have to feel, because some of these answers that we got was covered in that first class. That's why I say that. So once you have what you want your net income to be and how many units you need to sell to get to that net income, you're going to start filling out these 411 action goal sheets. Now it's broken down weekly to where you want to fill it out once a week, but you want to start a fresh one each month. So you want to, like, this information right here should stay the same, but this information over here should be updated each month. So the idea is to grow your database, and you want to make sure that you are reviewing your budget to keep you within your parameters. Like if you know your first quarter was a little high, then you want to make sure that you bring balance back to your second quarter. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to do less to compensate for the first quarter. Like, you may go ahead and just accept that loss. Like, there might be a reason why it was an out-of-pocket expense that you weren't necessarily anticipating, but you want to make sure that you are holding yourself accountable and making sure that you are reaching your goals. So if your net income is 100,000 and you know you got to sell 25, 30 units to get there, and you know that the listing appointments that you need to go on to get there is going to be let's say 50, and then the buyer's appointments is going to also be 50. These are just random numbers. Again, you can review that first course to really break those numbers down. Then you know that you have to break that down monthly. So that's 50 a year, and then you could break that down by 12 a month. Excuse me. So let's say that, let's just put it all together. So if you're doing 50 listing appointments, so that means you're going to need to go on 4 listing appointments a month and 4 listing appointments, 4 buyers appointments a month as well. So 2 appointments a week, 1 listing and 1 buyer, right? And again, those are just like random numbers. So how are you going to get there, right? So these are your annual goals. And then these are your monthly goals. So if you know you need to go on 4 a month, that means 1 a week of each of these. You want to make sure that you fill that out, and you want to make sure, how do I get my contacts to where I need to be in the database? Because if your database is just starting out with the people that you know right now, you might have 20 to 50 people in your database, or you might have more friends. But I know I didn't start out with a strong database or sphere of influence at all. So like, I really built mine from scratch. So you want to make sure that you're constantly adding numbers into your database and plugging these people in, because you have a bigger end result. So so these things, when you're breaking these down, send 1 value to leads, send 2 value to contacts. So what they're talking about value is when you're getting like into Command and they have different ways of prospecting. So Command is meant and created to support this. So when it says send 1 value to leads, that's not necessarily meaning something expensive. Like, this could be something, just a market update, or however you want to do it. So your actual leads are going to be people that are closer to buying than your actual contacts. Contacts are just somebody that you got to keep a relationship with, because it could eventually turn into leads, or there's somebody that constantly feeds you leads. So however you have it labeled, but you want something of value. So like, if you're bringing something of value to leads, it could be something like a market update, because these things are important to them because they're getting ready to buy or sell. Something of value to contacts, this could just be holiday cards or whatever it is that you want to do, or a pop by, however you want to work it out, whatever you want to put into your budget. So then you break it down to your weekly goals. And again, we know that we need to go on how many lists. So if we need 4 listing appointments a month, how many actual appointments do we need to go on? Okay, so 4 listing appointments a month, how many do we actually need to get there, right? To get to that, those are actual listings, not just appointments. I said the word wrong. So, because you want to know the difference between appointments and actual listings. So you need 4 actual listings that you get each month, and 4 actual buyers each month to hit those random numbers that I gave you earlier. So how many appointments do you need to go on to get you there? And it's like a 75% conversion rate when you go on listing appointments, and a 70% conversion rate when you go on buyers appointments. So you can work out the math on how many you need to go on. And you also need to determine how many calls that you're going to have to make to get those appointments. So that's why this is broken down here like that. So you want to know, how many people are you going to add to your CRM, how many calls you're going to make, send something of value via email to your contacts, and you're going to fill this out. So you're going to start out the month with these two filled out, right? And then you're going to each week plug these numbers in. But you're going to want to hold yourself accountable to this. Don't fill it in just to fill it in. Actually, like, be committed to that. Plan and time block this out in your actual schedule so that you can keep yourself on track and focus. Does that make sense for everybody? Probably not
Yes.
yet. Okay. Here's a blank one for you guys so that y'all, again, if you don't have these worksheets, put your email in the chat and I will email them to you. But these two workbooks, they do have a blank one in them so that you guys can save that particular form for yourself and fill it out later. That way you always have it. So this breaks it down even further. So this particular form was actually covered in the first course. Again, if you haven't taken that, it is on the YouTube channel so that you can be able to plug this in later, but it gives you step-by-step directions on how to fill this out. So if you're not good at math, or you're not, like, I have a tendency to talk myself in circles sometimes when it comes to like breaking down math problems. So I like a good step-by-step. If you literally fill this out step-by-step on what you want your net income to be, it's going to break out down those numbers so that you know how to fill out this portion of it. And then it also helps you fill out this portion of it because it breaks it down even further on how many appointments you need. So that's just more of that. So this is just breaking that top form down a little bit more in the written out part of it. You don't necessarily have to fill this out unless you want to. This is just something that we had to fill out when we were going through the course. The 19 to connect touch campaign and the 36 to convert touch campaign. This is something that is also available in Command. So if I just minimize this window here, and I'm going to go over here to my command window that I already have opened up, I want to show you some of these smart plans. So there's some that are already created by Keller Williams, right? And then there's some that were created by different agents. And as you see, they're like free, and then I guess they could charge for some of them. But the way that these are set up is so as you're plugging people into your database, you will create tags to allow you to keep better track of them. And you will literally just set them up on these smart plans, which takes care of that 19 touch and that 36 touch for you if you set it up that way. Now, some of that stuff is not necessarily an email. Some of it's going to be a reminder for you to do other things. So you want to make sure that you understand whatever plan that you're setting up before you actually set them up on it. So an 8x8, that's going to be 8 touches, right? Quarterly call plan. So these are people that may be somebody that's going to like buy in the next year or so. You may not need to talk to them as often. You might want to talk to them every other month, however you want to do it. The birthday ones, anything to show that you actually care about the client. These smart plans are set up to help you do that, so that you don't have to worry about creating content because it's already there. All you have to worry about doing is adding them to your contacts list and making sure that you get all their information plugged in. Does that make sense? So when you're trying to decide how many people you want in your database, this is going to be in the main form. Hold on, let me double check the chat. I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay. You want to make sure that you understand how many people you need to add so that you know how to fill out your worksheet on how many people you need to add to your database, right? So for example, if you have 500 contacts in your database receiving 36 touches a year, 6% of that, and that's a rough calculation, right, will convert to actual buyers. Or I should say appointments, not even whatever they are. So 500 times 0.06, and then you have to convert 50% of that pool. So that's 15 appointments a year, and we decided that we needed 50. So if that's 15 and you need to get to 50, then you could just easily divide your 50 divided by 15, which is 3.33. So times that by 500. So you need about 1,700 contacts in your database getting 36 touches a year. If you're trying to hit that 50 goal, like obviously that's a really large number, guys, and I don't expect anybody to crank out 1,700 contacts immediately. Some of you that have been in the industry longer maybe closer to that, but I know I don't have 1,700 contacts in mind, so it's a goal, right? So if you want to try to have 1,700 contacts by the end of the year, how does that break down per month? So 1,700 divided by 12, that's going to be 141 contacts per month, right? And then you can break that down even further into weeks. So 35 contacts a week. Can you meet 35 people in a week? Maybe that's a little eager. Maybe it's a little too much. That you can scale it down on where you're comfortable with. The goal is not to set goals that you can't reach, but to set achievable ones and then constantly be trying to do more, right? So maybe your goal isn't to net 100,000. And again, guys, these numbers I kind of made up because I was just trying to fill in the blanks, right? So obviously, if you do 50 transactions a year, that's probably going to be a little more than 100,000. So let's just keep that in mind. But if your goal is just to hit 50,000 a year or 60,000 a year, then obviously these numbers will adjust. And if you're in your first year of real estate and getting that many contacts a week is not something that you're comfortable doing, then scale it down, scale it to where you want it. Just make sure every time that you hit your goal, you reevaluate and challenge yourself even more.
Get
Like
more.
don't give up on that growth.
Thank you. That's a great idea.
So this other section here is if you ask for a referral, and the key part here is making sure that you ask. So if you don't ask, nobody's going to think about it, right? So you have to get in the habit of, do you guys know anybody that may be looking to buy or sell within the next year? And that gives you the 4% with the 50% of converting them. So that right there, guys, if you have 500 people in your database and then you ask those 500 people if they can send you a referral, that's potentially 25 appointments right there out the gate, right? So that makes it look a little bit more achievable when you're breaking it down and you're thinking about it. And your database is going to have a constant circulation, right? Because like you have these people and then you convert them and then you sell them a house. Well, now they're not going to be on your 36 touch plan unless you have one specific for somebody that you just sold a house to, because they might be looking to sell their house in 3 to 5 years. So you're going to want to still keep contact with them, but they're not going to be in the same pool that you're going to close a deal on right out the gate. They might be needing to marinate for like a year before you start putting that bug in their ear again, but they could still be a part of your referral. So like you still want to keep contact with them. And again, all of those smart plans, I promise you, as many agents as we have in this industry, somebody has already came up with one that's pretty fantastic that takes the guesswork out of it for you. So take time out today or tomorrow to go through Command and look at the different smart plans that they have to see how they can make you more effective with your business. So based on the number of contacts in your database receiving 36 touches, you're going to break down how many appointments that's going to generate you, right? So you're going to take what you already have and you're going to see what your end result is. Now let's talk about the type of people that you can add to your database. Who would like to give me some perspective on who they have in their database or who they would consider putting in their database?
People about to get married.
Would you like to elaborate that on a little bit, Regina? Because not everybody's going to understand why you would put those people in there.
That's a great question. So especially this area, it's so diverse and people are moving constantly in and out. And with the military, I noticed a lot of couples get engaged quickly. They're trying to figure out how to combine homes. A lot of them are younger, making less income, so they don't already have homes and they're renters. And so it's a good area to target, meeting the engaged couples and, you know, asking how you can help them move their life forward together, home shopping and combining their families.
So how are you able to cut, because not everybody's gonna, how are you able to target people who are getting married? Tell them a little bit about your background so that, because like they're gonna wonder, how can I contact, how am I supposed to know when somebody's getting married other than like personal friends and family?
Well, I mean, I was thinking you can even just like, not just from, I mean, I'll talk about what I do, but I was thinking that other people can say, do you know anybody engaged getting married and need to um, blend their families into a bigger home or move out of an apartment into a home? Would be great for anybody that's not in my industry. But my industry, I've been working the last 6 years with wedding couples. My passion is teaching people that think they can't dance learn that they can do their first dance and enjoy their wedding. And I go to bridal shows a lot. And so I'm targeting first time home buying in that industry. But I was thinking other agents in our office could do the same. Everybody has like their circle of friends. And especially with COVID, a lot of people are getting pregnant because I'm getting calls for baby showers because they're home all day. So there's a lot of people getting pregnant and needing more space, a bigger house, a bigger apartment. So you want to get them out of apartments and into homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was my thought for others.
Yep, and you guys can actually create advertisement through command using the design template, and you can actually use this to target that audience. Like, you guys had get pregnant over COVID, you need a bigger house. Like, I know I saw a lot of jokes about people getting divorced.
Can we be that blunt? Is that fair housing?
Yeah, so you could create different advertisement platforms to help capture those leads as well. So definitely keep that in mind. What are some other ways? What are some other people that you can add to your contacts list? Anybody else got some suggestions?
People you worked with at past jobs.
Yes. Yes.
Military family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any of you guys that are associated with the military at all, there's a certain amount of jealousy on my side because I don't really have an in with the military. I'm not married to a military person, and my family's in the military, but there's usually a community within like the spouses and stuff like that. So it's good to be able to plug these people's information in when you have them, because a lot of these veterans do not know about the benefits that they have. Like, they know a little, right? They know they can go get a car, but they don't necessarily know that they can qualify for 100% financing to help them buy a home that they can later turn into residual income. So yes, that's definitely a very good one, because we are in a high military area. Like, we've got all kinds of branches here, and there's constant movement with that. That's an excellent one. Anybody else? How about people that you guys come in with in contact with? I don't know who here is an extrovert or an introvert, or where your level of comfort is when it comes to talking to strangers.
Drive-throughs.
Drive-throughs, yeah.
Your bank, your hairstylist, your nail person. Go get your nails done.
Yeah, exactly. My sister always goes to a corner store that's near her house to get a fountain soda, because she has this obsession with fountain sodas, but she goes in to get a fountain soda daily. Like, that's her cigarette. Some people smoke cigarettes every day. Hers is Dr. Pepper. So she goes in. Home Depot is another great one. So she goes there so much that she knows every employee that works there, their name, whether they got kids, like if they're married, like she knows their business. This is a prime opportunity for her to market herself and put them in her database. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the first time that you put these strangers in there, unless you've had that substantial conversation. It does not necessarily have to be one that is specifically buy or sell, buy or sell, buy or sell. It could be DIY projects around the house to get your house fixed up. It could be holiday ideas. It could be recipes. It can literally be however you want to create it so that you feel like they're going to engage with you and not unsubscribe from the emails, right? So be very careful on how you are tagging them when you're putting them in the database. Now, obviously, if they're thinking about buying and selling, like put them in there right away, get them going, like make sure you're making contact with them so that they know that you're there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, good deal.
That makes sense. Can you give us suggestions? Like, do you so you create different lists based on different needs in Command? Like
Yes.
how? Like I'm trying to think. Like how am I supposed to set this up right properly?
When you are putting, if you go, let me bring my little Command page back up. If you're in Command, when you are plugging in a new contact, you can, let me move my little window out of the way, add a new contact, and you can literally plug in their information, and then you are going to put in tags. So you can create tags on however you want to create them. And you can be as specific with the information as you want. So when you put the tags in there, when you go to set up smart plans, you can have your smart plans associated with specific tags. So if they have a tag for new family or baby on the way, divorce, marriage, whatever tag you want to create, you can set one of these smart plans for that particular tag and it will run them through it. And Raymond's class actually goes into more detail on that stuff. That is his expertise for sure.
So that's great because I was in there with Raymond and another person and it was overwhelming trying to figure out how to tag people. So you're saying, which that sounds genius, that, you know, like if you know they're having a baby, have a tag specifically for everybody that has a baby so that it follows that plan, right?
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
That's exactly.
And then like if you know somebody who just got married and they're blending kids, maybe say family with kids, so that you could target them on stuff relating to that.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
So that you can build a better engagement with them and they don't just delete your
exactly
messages.
Now, when you are doing stuff specific for that, like Regina, it may be very beneficial for you to create a smart plan specifically for people that are getting married, because like that is your unique niche, right? So it may be beneficial to you to figure out and schedule a one-on-one with Raymond on how to create a smart plan. That way you can create something that only you are sending out that's specific for this target of people, so your tags make sense. Because I there's so many smart plans and there may be one that already exists, but I don't know. So you might have to create one specifically for your target if it doesn't already exist. But if that's the case, then that just means you know exactly the content that they're getting and you know exactly how to follow up with them when you see or do speak with them. Make sense?
Yes, thank you. So we could schedule one-on-one specifically with him and ask him, can you help cater this? And
Yes, he has
he's open to that.
generic classes. He has generic classes, but if he can cover it in a particular class, that's what he's going to do, because obviously you get to serve the masses at that point. But if your particular situation like this one, I think it requires a little bit more one-on-one time. So I would just send
I
them
would love one-on-one. I just didn't know if it was inappropriate to say.
No.
How much
But-
do you charge for one-on-one?
No, guys, our ALC members are here to help everybody be successful, to love the brokerage that they're with, and to help you guys grow your business and reach the level of success that you want. Like, we're here to help you reach those goals. So if you want to have one-on-ones with any of our ALC members, all you have to do is reach out to them. Like, Mary Frances is very good with social media, with like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. She knows a lot about those things and those platforms, on what catches people's attention, what doesn't. You can schedule time to speak with her. Like, it might be via Zoom because she's got 2 small children, but you know, that's what we're here for, and that's what we want. We want this kind of engagement. So even though we're teaching generic courses, I love engagement because it helps me cater to you guys, because like I can go through all of these documents and I can explain it to you, but how can I make it real for you? And that's where y'all's engagement comes into play, so that we can create it and make it real. Make sense?
Total sense. Thank you.
So when we're looking at this page
Thank
here, this kind of like breaks down things a bit more as far as like the 19 touch campaign and the 36 touch for contacts. So the idea is to, those contacts that you generically put in there, maybe it's a stranger, maybe it's somebody from the corner store, whatever the case may be. If they're not at lead status, you want to put them on a 36 touch, because you want to roll them into the 19 touch. You want to get them into lead status. So just to kind of break it down, the 19 touch is 4 annual calls, actual on the phone, call them, hey, how are you doing? Right? We cannot cut short that personal touch of calling somebody. Y'all can tell how old I am when I'm doing the phone like this, right? Because I'm not in the generation that had the cell phone where they do that, right? I just called myself out on that one. The banana. So you don't want to take away from the actual personal touches of calling them. Like, you're going to have emails and everything like that already in place, but those are going to be out of sight, out of mind to you, because you set them up and you don't need to think about them anymore. But you want to make sure, and again, this is stuff that you will set up with Command. It will set up the 4 annual calls, and it will send you reminders quarterly on who to call. So as long as you put these people in right, and you stay on top of keeping your database up to date and clean, nobody will fall through the cracks. Like, you will be so on it that I will be jealous, right? So 4 annual calls, 12 monthly emails, newsletters, market reports, and videos. That's not 12 of each, right? So 1 month could be an email, 1 month could be a newsletter, 1 month could be a market report, 1 month could be a video. However you want to play that out, that's up to you. Promotional direct mail, magnet, calendar, market report. So this is also where your budget comes into play, right? If you know where they live, this could be something, hopefully you're going to know where they live, right? Because you're going to need their address to do direct mail. But maybe they're not in a neighborhood that you're comfortable with driving to and dropping it off, which creates the opportunity for pop buys. So you don't necessarily have to do direct mail, but direct mail is COVID friendly. So think about that. And then 1 annual party, event, movie, get together, home buying seminars, guys. Regina tag teamed her home buying seminar with a free dance lesson for her potential married couples. Whatever you want to do. And these can also be vendor sponsored. Like, if you're doing a home buying seminar and you've got a good relationship with a lender and stuff like that, you can tag team that together to where your lender will have the opportunity to speak to the clients as well, and hopefully get them pre-qualified and ready to buy. So the 30.
I just want to offer to the group here, if they have any engaged and want to come out this Sunday with them to do like catering their future, and they can talk to them about home buying, they can tag team and join the event. I welcome other agents from our office to come bring out people and take advantage of it since I've already set it up.
Guys, I've told y'all before, buddy up. And Regina is practically volunteering to buddy up right now. So buddy up with other agents that are looking to grind the same way as you. You guys can lift each other up on a regular basis. Y'all can go and y'all can try new things, and y'all can really hit the pavement and get the work done. So the 36 touch, just to kind of see what that looks like. Again, you're making annual calls. Now, these calls don't have to be real estate related. Like, you need to be genuine on why you're calling these people. It could literally be, hey, I just wanted to check in with you and see how you are doing. I wanted to see how you are surviving COVID, or how's your job going, or how are the kids. You, in your contacts, you will have extensive notes, anything and everything that you can remember, because if you're like me, I data dump on a regular basis. So I might meet somebody and talk to them or whatever, but I'm going to need a reminder on what we talked about if we're only making these calls quarterly, right? So make sure you put really good notes in there so that you can keep track of who they are, what they got going on, and always update it. That way, when you talk to them again, because the goal is to convert them into leads. Now, it may not take 36 touches to convert them into leads. It may happen sooner, and you can stop that smart plan and roll it over to the next one. You don't have to keep them on that smart plan if you need to interrupt it. 26 bi-weekly emails. So there's 52 weeks in a year, and they want you to send them emails half that time. So bi-weekly emails offering information of value to the customer. This could be market updates. This could be new developments in a neighborhood, or hey guys, did you hear we're getting a new Walmart? Whatever you want to put on there, right? 2 events, get-togethers, parties, home buying seminars, right? We just talked about that. Or it could just be a little networking event, right? It does whatever you want to organize. It could be a virtual happy hour, whatever you guys want to do. 4 promotional direct mails. So that's magnet, calendar, market report. Again, pop buys. It does not necessarily, obviously, if you're putting out a calendar, that sounds like it might be a little expensive, right? But a market report is just the cost of the printer, the paper, and the ink, right? So you don't have to necessarily put a lot of money into that. There's a lot of creative ways to keep that within your budget. Any questions so far? All right, so this is the budget. I'm not really going to get too far into this because we already saw how to break it down up here, right? So that's just a blank budget for you to go ahead and start filling it out. If you know where you want to be, then you know what you're allowed to do, and you can start filling out your budget. So it even has examples right here. Obviously, you're not going to have the exact same thing, so you want to plug in what plugs in. If it's just you, then you don't need to worry about how much you're paying a listing specialist and a buyer specialist, because that's you. And then you could just plug in the numbers as you see fit to make the numbers slot. See, this net income is for $1 million, right? So you got to adjust these numbers. These are not, unless you're trying to make $1 million in your first year of real estate, these are not realistic numbers. And if you are trying to make $1 million in your first year, like, go get it. Like, I'm with it. Your P&L. So you guys can't do a profit and loss for last year, but you can at least start looking at your last month or your last quarter and really start to familiarize yourself with your numbers. The more you play around with this, the better. Again, if you have QuickBooks, they have, as long as you keep it update and you're data entering everything that you're supposed to, it prints these reports for you. You just got to make sure that you consolidate everything and make sure your numbers line up. But your profit and loss statement is a good way to keep you in check. So don't neglect that. If you have a budget, then you have a profit and loss statement. They go hand in hand, so don't neglect that. And this stuff right here is just to kind of help you see where you're at. Don't be too hard on yourself, right? So when we are trying to evaluate ourselves, you're your worst critic, right? Every time I look in the mirror, I am my worst critic. So I'm not going to act like you guys aren't either, because that's just what we do as human beings. So this is just for you to have a real conversation with yourself. If you know you're hitting it on the money with these, then fine. Like give yourself that 4. But if you know that you have room for improvement, make sure that you hold yourself accountable, because you're the only one that is going to be looking at this unless you choose to have an accountability partner. If you choose to have accountability partner, then you guys get to hold each other up to that standard. It could be your mentor. It could be another agent that's seasoned that you see value in. It could be another agent that's brand new, just like you, and you guys are just trying to build something together. Just make sure if you have an accountability partner that you're ready to be honest, because they can't hold you accountable if you're not going to be honest with yourself. And that's it. Any questions? If you need a copy of these workbooks, please put your email in the chat so I can send it to you. I got it to some of y'all earlier, but if you weren't here when I was emailing it out, please put your email in the chat so I can send it to you. Questions, comments, concerns? Tell me what you think about the class. Tell me what you would like to see next time.
I don't have any questions because I did attend late to the class, so I missed the whole front portion, but that's why I don't have any questions. Maybe when I go through it all and see it from the beginning, I will.
Yep.
But as of right now, I don't.
And this class, because this class has been held before, there is on the YouTube page, there will be the first portion of this class. And then of course, this portion will be on there as well. So you'll be able to look at that at a later date.
Cool beans.
I entered the incorrect email.
So you want the one
second one? The KW email is my correct email.
Okay. Make sure I got it spelled correctly because I got nothing else. All right. All right. I'm sending this guys to you right now. If you guys have any questions or you want to know more or you want some more in-depth information, just let me know. We'll schedule out a time, try to help set you up. And we'll go from there because again, all of our ALC members are here to help and I can't help but help because it's in my nature. So, okie dokies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys. Y'all have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you as well.